Good evening, everybody. The Republican National Convention is moving into its second night, and judging by what I believe to be the best opening convention night by either party since 1976, certainly, this should be another polished, engaging, uplifting performance for the party and the Republican National Convention, using the first night of speeches to deliver a strong message of hope and a powerful expression of what it means to be an American. Just listen now to how the convention is already drawing sharp contrast with the left's hate-filled efforts to scare Americans into voting for the hapless Democratic nominee.
Donald Trump has divided our country, diminished our greatness.
You can achieve your American dream. You can be that shining example to the world.
The current president has cloaked American darkness for much too long. Too much anger, too much fear, too much division.
The American story was written by people just like you and I, who love our country and take risks to build a future for our families and neighbors.
We're talking about abolishing the police. We're talking about abolishing ICE. We're talking about abolishing prisons.
The left wants to defund the police. This is personal to me. I wouldn't be here without the bravery and heroism of the men and women in law enforcement who saved my life.
If you think things cannot possibly get worse, trust me, they can and they will if we don't make a change in this election.
We will be stronger than ever because when we put our mind to it, there is no obstacle that America can't surmount.
This administration has shown it will tear our democracy down if that's what it takes for them to win.
Our family went from cotton to Congress in one lifetime. And that's why I believe the next American century can be better than the last.
Encouraging, uplifting words from Republicans. They also made a point to challenge the radical Dems' decades of deprivation of their black American constituents. Multiple speakers, including Democratic Georgia state lawmaker Vernon Jones, touting President Trump's record on criminal justice reform, on historically low unemployment rates in black communities.
The Democratic Party does not want black people to leave their mental plantation. We've been forced to be there for decades and generations. But I have news for Joe Biden. We are free. We are free people with free minds. And I'm part of a large and growing segment of the black community who are independent thinkers, and we believe that Donald Trump is the president that America needs to lead us forward.
Messages like that of Vernon Jones have clearly worried the power-hungry radical Dems. A handful of so-called progressive groups are now urging the left-wing national media to tape delay the convention so the precious little lefties could fact-check the speakers. These groups and the rest of the radical left once again trying to suppress the free speech of Republicans and conservatives. The left's radical far-left ideas are too fragile to be challenged. Listen to Maximo Alvarez, a Cuban immigrant. He's seen firsthand how the radical left suppresses free thought, free expression, and how their policies could destroy a nation. He's now a business owner in Florida, living the American dream. And last night, he delivered this passionate speech against the Marxist and socialist ideals advocated by the radical left in America.
I have seen people like this before. I've seen movements like this before. I've seen ideas like this before. And I am here to tell you, we cannot let them take over our country. I heard the promises of Fidel Castro, and I can never forget all those who grew up around me, who look like me, who suffered and starved and died because they believed those empty promises. They swallow the communist poison pill.
Tonight, the Republican convention will focus on law and order. Former Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi and Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron among the night's speakers, while the radical Dems ignored completely the violence that has consumed Democrat-run cities across the country for months. Republicans are putting it forward front and center with solutions. Mark and Patricia McCloskey, who were charged after fending off.
These radicals are not content with marching in the streets. They want to walk the halls of Congress. They want to take over. They want power. This is Joe Biden's party. These are the people who will be in charge of your future and the future of your children.
Make no mistake, no matter where you live, your family will not be safe in the radical Democrats' America.
Their warning comes as Riot Blake's guest here this evening is a victim of the mob violence in Kenosha. He's run a family business there for more. It is Scott Carpenter. He's the manager of the B&L office furniture in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Scott, I am awfully sorry for what you and your family have gone through, what you've lost, and I appreciate your taking the time to share your story with our audience. Your thoughts as you watched your store burning.
It was very sad. I was sitting at the table watching it live through somebody's Facebook feed, and the only thing...
And those of your neighboring businesses and the community of Kenosha. This is who was do this? Are these just simply demonstrators? A community frustrated in Kenosha who've just lost all control? Who are the people doing this?
You know, I don't know exactly who did it or what group actually is creating the destruction. We do know, we believe that there are a lot of people coming in from neighboring cities, states, helping provoke this. I've heard that people have come as far as Portland, Oregon to be involved in this demonstration to help get things started. I don't believe it's the actual people who want to do the protesting that's doing this destruction. I think these are the people that are just opportunists and want to destroy people's property and be destructive. They just want to destroy. It's just hatefulness. It's just hateful.
It's hatefulness, and yet the Black Lives Matter activists, Antifa, say they're standing up for a different principle. They're standing up for a different America. And the police in your city, are they simply overwhelmed with this? They can't stop this?
They're standing down. They're letting it happen. Last night, as I was sitting at the table watching it unfold in front of me before the building caught on fire, an officer came on the scanner and said, people are running around our barricades. What are we to do? And they said, we're to do nothing. We're doing nothing. We're going to just stand and watch. So they did absolutely nothing and stood and watched.
Your mayor is a Democrat. Your city council, Democrat as well?
I believe so, the majority, yes.
And how does the community, I mean, this community, Kenosha has a wonderful history. It is a heterogeneous community, a diverse community. Would you have ever expected a moment like this?
Never. You know, we've been here for over 31 years in this location at this building, and when people find out the neighborhood we're in, they're like, oh, that's a rough neighborhood, and we're like, not really. Maybe behind the store can get a little for something major to happen. I have to admittedly say there's been times where I've actually walked away from our delivery truck, gone home for the night and left it unlocked, come back to not a problem. So, you know, it's unexpected in this town. That's why we didn't take measures to buy 500 sheets of plywood to wrap around the entire building to try to protect it. Although I believe if they wanted to set fire to it, they would have just set fire to that wood. They were just out to destroy. They don't care. They didn't care one bit.
They don't. And what has been the reaction of your neighbors in those in that part of town where you do business? Have you had a lot of expressions of sympathy? What has been the reaction?
Yeah, we've had a lot of expressions of sympathy. I've had customers stop by, and knowing that guessing we'd probably be here, where else would I be at this time of day at my business, coming by and saying how sorry, they are, and if there's anything they can do to help, or can they help clean up? And we're like, there's nothing to clean up. This has to be bulldozed and piled up and hauled out. The neighbors around us, I feel bad for them and their businesses that have been devastated from these thugs, Yeah, not good.
And well, you've also been devastated by a mayor and a city council that told the police department to stand down. How does that make you feel, and why in the world would you put up with it? Why would anyone in Kenosha, Wisconsin accept that as a bottom line to city government and what you can expect of it in an emergency?
Right. Yeah, I agree. You know what? Is that the way it is? Some big, tough people come in and say they want to tear the town down. We're just going to stand back and watch and say, oh, we're sorry. Let's just clean up and move forward. I don't think so.
Yeah, well, that's very disappointing. We, again, are sorry for what you're going through and what the city of Kenosha is going through. It is, unfortunately, it's a story that's being played out across many cities in this country, night after night after night over the past, ever since the killing of George Floyd. Black lives matter, but apparently it's a question of how much. Scott Carpenter, thank you so much. We appreciate it, and we wish you and Kenosha all the very best. Up next, the radical Dems pushing mail-in voting. Why not? But that effort isn't sitting well with their key constituencies. We take it up, and we're pleased to announce right here on this program that along with the Trump century, How Our President Changed the Course of History Forever, it's available for pre-order now. We've officially launched our merchandise store, Lou Dobbs Shop. Head over to loudobbsshop.com. Send a message to all the liberals every single day. With the special promo code of MAGA, you'll receive 15% off your first order. We're coming right back. Ta-da! Another record-breaking day on Wall Street. The Nasdaq hitting a new record high, up 87 points on the day. The S&P also hitting a new record close, up 12 points. The Dow down 60. Volume on the big board, 3.6 billion shares. And crude oil above $43, $43.37 a barrel. Listen to my reports 3 times a day, coast to coast on the Salem Radio Network. Breaking news now, night one of the Republican convention already making waves among some Democratic voters. Here's a lifelong Democrat talking about why he is now supporting the Republican Party.
I'm a lifelong Democrat. I'm from Lorain, Ohio, which is a Democrat city in Ohio. And I just want to say, after watching the convention tonight on TV, on C-SPAN here, I am definitely changing my vote to Republican.
What was it that convinced you about tonight?
It was the heartfelt way they came across to the American people, and I was really touched by the number of times they used the word God. They put God into everything, and the people on the Democratic side on their convention act like they were pushing God right out of it.
And the radical left keeps promoting mail-in voting. But it turns out Black and Latino voters are skeptical about that idea. A number of focus groups revealing that discovery. They found that, quote, voters prefer going to the polls because the experience has been ingrained. They feel secure their vote will be counted. This is especially true among African Americans. A recent poll also finding 65% of Black and Latino voters want to vote in person because they believe their vote is more likely to be counted. And history proves it so. More than 534,000 mail-in ballots, by the way, were rejected in this year's primaries. There have also been 20 arrests and convictions for voter fraud so far this year. And the Democratic response is, what voter fraud? Joining us tonight, former Reagan White House political director, Fox Business political analyst, Ed Rollins, Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist for the New York Post, Fox Business contributor, Michael Goodwin. Let's start with you, Ed. I thought it was the best convention since the first one I saw was 1976. This, to me, was the best opening of any convention of either party I've seen. Your thoughts?
I sent a letter to the campaign manager last night at the end of it saying I've been to 10 of these things, including a couple that I commented at Democrats. There's never been a better one. This opening was fabulous. They had to throw this thing together quickly. It's what conventions are now, are big television shows. It was a superb show. I intended on kind of watching it periodically, reading newspapers and what have you. I watched it from the beginning to the end and applauded every single person that was up there. I think it was a fabulous show, and I expect them to have a better show even tonight as we move forward. All done in a very short time, too.
Michael.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was really upbeat, and I think that was an important distinction between the Democrats. I thought it had a lot of high energy, moved quickly. There are a couple of speeches that maybe went on a minute or so too long, but generally they were well-timed, well-delivered, well-prepared. I thought that, having some people other than just the speaker on the stage at sometimes with the president and other times, I thought it gave it more of a quality of a real convention rather than just a canned television show. So I thought all in all, and I thought it was actually quite substantive in its presentation of policies on the way it dealt with the COVID issue, trying to defend the president on that, and especially, as I write in my column, regarding the search for black voters. I thought the presentations last night featured some very strong presentations by black speakers.
Equally as important, Lou,
Herschel Walker. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was a little worried about the president being overexposed. The president was superb. And I think the idea of having him in there interfacing with people, telling the things that he does, like rescue hostages and sitting down with those first responders, was just absolutely fabulous.
Yeah, Congressman Jim Jordan and the personal stories that he told and shared about the president, compelling. Maximo Alvarez telling his story from the Cuban American. It was quite a splendid night of wonderful stories about America. I have to tell you, there were a lot of points where you could easily tear up a bit, choke up a bit. Because we had fresh faces with fresh perspectives, and you mentioned black voters, the appeal, obviously, that was intended in the evening. I have to tell you, I thought it was compelling, and there's no wonder that President Trump, Mike, is gaining such a large percentage of African-American voters in this election year.
Well, I thought, you mentioned Herschel Walker, which was incredibly powerful, his personal relationship with the president. As he said, 37 years. He said, and I know racism, it's not Donald Trump. But the others speaking politically, Vernon Jones from the Georgia legislature, a Democrat, lifelong Democrat, and of course Tim Scott's speech was terrific. So you had a combination of personal stories and policy-oriented speeches as well. And so I think it was well-rounded in that sense. It wasn't just one theme. There were multiple themes throughout the evening.
Absolutely. Ed, you get the last word.
I've been with Herschel, had dinner with him several months ago. He loves Donald Trump, and he told me many of those stories of the personal friendship that they've had for a very, very long time. So it was not scripted. It was basically him from his heart, one of the greatest players of all time.
Absolutely, and it's going to be interesting to see how this evening goes. We're going to find out here shortly. Ed Rollins, Michael Goodwin, always great to talk with you and have you here. Up next, the radical Dems in disarray. They can't find a way to unify around their party platform. We take that up with Trump campaign press secretary Hogan Gidley after these quick messages. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
This summer, we've all got miles to make up. Miles to the job site, to the campsite, and anything else we set our sights on.